I just don't like watching music videos if they don't have the band performing in it. Because, like, why? I'd rather watch a movie. If that's what
Okay.
we're getting into, I'll watch a movie. Because it'll have a
Okay.
story. It'll have structure. It'll be something done by a professional. And most music videos fucking aren't. They suck.
Welcome to the 175th episode of the Casa Inns Creation. I'm your host, Chris Deering. This is the show where I interview bands and public figures from the Mathcore adjacent community. If you join this content, please like, subscribe, do all the things social. Every little bit helps. And feel free to join us every Sunday and Wednesday for the live cast so you can interact with our guests in real time in the chat. You can also subscribe to this Twitch channel for just $5 to get access to the interviews before they hit YouTube and other streaming platforms, as well as get some exclusive emotes. You can do that for free by attaching an Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. It's like taking $5 from Jeff Bezos' pocket and putting it into mine. I recently put up pre-order for merch for the Sound That Ends Creations new EP, Unicorn Laser, Bubblegum City. There's a new shirt design. We got windbreakers, we got joggers, we got vinyl, all over at the Sound That Ends Creation.bandcamp.com. With that out of the way, let me introduce our guest today, who dropped their 8th album back in September through Artifact Records. Welcome in Jesse of Kin Mode. How's it going?
So it goes. I'm alive.
I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad you could join. Can you tell us who you are, what you do in the band?
I am the vocalist and guitarist in this hot mess of a band that's been in existence for over 23 years now.
Yeah, I saw that. I had no idea you guys are around for that long. Holy shit. How did the band get started? Because it's back in 1999, and this is before this style of music even really like kind of took off, as far as I understand it anyway.
I mean, ish. 99 was what? 99 is when Calculating Infinity came out.
Oh, was it? I kind of thought that was like
it,
2000 something. But I'm totally wrong. I could be totally wrong.
I remember it. I was starting university because I had the Mullet Burden EP and the self-titled before that, which I thought sounded like Dazzling Killmen meets Dead Guy. So we're talking digging back into the 90s here. But yeah, I that year was crazy too. 99, Relapse put out In the Eyes of God by Today's the Day. They did Coalesce, what was it, Revolution and Just Listening, Calculating Infinity, Soylent Green, Soul Mouth Secrets. Like, it was just such a weird time for strange hardcore and metal adjacent mathy music. And granted, everyone back then like wrote songs that have like 1,500 riffs, so it was a bit daunting, but it was a very cool and creative time. Anyway, that was the time that we started the band. We technically started like playing together probably in 96, but like we're talking like teenagers learning how to play instruments. And we started playing shows in 1999.
So were y'all like touring in high school? Y'all were kids in 1999, or?
Yeah, well, in 99, I was starting university, and my brother Shane, who's still a drummer, he's 2 years younger than me, so he was in the 11th grade? Yeah, 11th grade. So that was what we started playing shows as. And we actually, oddly enough, on the mathcore adjacent stuff, the first tour we did was with The End from Toronto, who put out a few records on Relapse. Also, some old school stuff there.
Oh, that's some good ass shit right there.
But yeah,
where did the name Kin Mode come from? I know you get that all the time, but where does the name Kin Mode come from?
It's a quote from Henry Rollins' book, Get in the Van. It was the psychological state of mind that he coined that Black Flag entered when they put their My War record out in 1983, because they'd been tied up in a legal battle before that and couldn't tour. So they had this new ferocious feeling when they toured that record that they were out to kill everyone. Now we were in Ken mode, and a 17-year-old me thought that's pretty badass.
That is badass. And holy shit.
It's kind of been the bane of our existence ever since, because a lot of people think it's either a Barbie and Ken or a video game reference, and just people get all high and mighty about their band names when some of the shittiest names produce some of the coolest bands. Like, why do you care?
I bet you get a lot of people asking who's Ken in the band.
Yeah, that's a regular joke.
That's so stupid. Oh my god. Do you ever like wish that you had just like named it something else, or do you ever think about maybe changing the name and rebranding at some point?
Oh, for sure. We have in the past, but at this point, like,
you're too big at this point, I guess.
And it'd be too fucking stupid unless we wanted to play something completely different. why rebrand?
Right.
I've seen too many bands try to rebrand and it failing absolutely miserably. So like we've put in our time, and part of why we put in the time that we did was so when things happen, we hope a few more people care about it. So it kind of seems like it's working ish. Oh, we got a couple people saying, "Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up to you, Colonel Dingus
And
and Dead Skunk?"
uh So 23 years as an active band. That's absolutely fucking bananas. Where did you find the people to bring in with you? It was you and your brother, and then you brought in a bunch of other people. How did you meet up with them?
Yeah. Well, at this point, the first bassist in our band was a guy that I was friends with since kindergarten. Him and I got into like music as preteens together. His name was Daryl Laxdal. He was in the band for the first 5 or 6 years of its existence, and then we went through a fair number of bassists over the next like 5 years. And then we were touring all the time. We got Chad Tremblay, who kind of bailed right before Venerable came out, and we hit the road indefinitely. We had fill-ins with Therese Lance from Mares of Thrace, our buddy Jameel Russell, who's played in bands like Kittens and Actors and Malfaction, bunch of badass stuff. Then we met up with Andrew LaCour, who was in the band for 2.5 years, and we basically just unrelentingly toured when he was in the band, and parted ways with him. And Scott joined the band, and he's been with us ever since. That's funny because a lot of people still call Scott like the new guy, but he's been in the band for 8 years.
So is the core like you and your brother then, or
Yeah,
how would you?
yeah.
Okay, you guys write everything.
No, but we are the core. I mean, a lot of like, and that's actually one of the unique things about this latest record that came out in the circumstances that led up to it being the pandemic. I wrote an awful lot of this one completely myself. So, but yeah, we collaborate with the bassist that we've always historically worked with to a degree because it's not really fun just dictating what someone plays and
Right.
claiming they're in the band, but they're not allowed to write anything. That's kind of, I don't know, bullshit. That's not what I'm in this for. I mean, I'll write things if I'm writing things, and I'll write songs on my own, but I have, it's more fulfilling in a jam room to be playing off each other. That chemistry is the magic, right?
Right. So, but you were doing this one all by yourself. So, what makes this one different from the other albums?
The big difference was the fact that the pandemic made it so no one could get together. So I taught myself how to do pre-production on my laptop, which I flirted with like in 2007, but like digital audio workstations were way more complex and required way more computing power than your average like desktop at work that you run for Excel would really have. So that was kind of a failed attempt 15 years ago at this point. But the fact that the industry has changed that much, where your average desk, like regular laptop for doing accounting, you can power Reaper and download a few plugins, and
Right.
like you're off to the races writing music. So that's really was what started this whole process. And actually, it was the advertisement for Kirk Ballew's Room Sounds drum library was what made me interested in the first place. Because I thought, like, if I can teach myself MIDI and have drum sounds that sound like this, I might be able to actually write music on my own. So that was like April 2020. I started trying to teach myself how to do all these things. And that's just how the songs started getting built.
But the actual recordings are real drums.
Oh yeah. And like I wrote these parts and then taught them to Shane, and then Shane totally dunked on all the drum
Right.
parts because like I'm not a drummer, and he's
Yeah, you're just like doing basic stuff or whatever with a MIDI. Yes.
yeah. And some of them like I we hooked up. Actually, you might even be able to see it behind me.
Oh, I
There's
see the kid. That's sick.
an electronic little kit that he bought decades ago that he just wasn't using. So like during the pandemic, I set it up, plugged it into my little MIDI adapter, and I started getting into playing drums again. And I haven't played drums in like 20 years. So yeah, I'd write beats for these riffs, and then when I taught him to Shane, he totally dunked on me because he's a real drummer. But yeah, it turned these songs into something really cool, which to be able to do that when you're just creating in isolation, and then to see these things come to fruition the way they do is I don't know, it's still very, very fulfilling. Anyone who gets bitten by the songwriting bug, like it's something that you'd hope keeps with you your whole life. And for me, it never stops being thrilling.
You introduced a heavy, like, industrial type of sound into the music this time around. Why'd you decide to go that route? Where did the inspiration come from?
I just started buying synthesizers.
Okay.
I don't know why I wanted them in the first place. I got a couple different Moogs, and that preceded the pandemic hitting. And in the first stages of the pandemic, for some reason, like Nine Inch Nails was like the be all and end all for me. I was listening to them constantly, and like obviously they're a band that has a long history, but I didn't really listen to them when I was a teenager. I got into them in my 30s, so it was very strange that was the band that was really resonating for me at that time. And it ended up rubbing off in a way. I mean, I don't think any of the material actually sounds like Nine Inch Nails, but that's kind of how this mess filtered that.
Industrial also seems to be like starting to pick up a lot more recently. Like there's a lot more like hardcore bands and bring it into their music and stuff like that. I imagine like that's part of it as well. Like you just started hearing more of it and you're like, oh, it'd be sick to add this into the music.
Yeah, probably. And I think I do also think that the fact that like technology has changed this much, I do believe a lot of people are writing things on their computer, and that
Right.
really translates well to that genre as a whole too. So, and there's something like futuristic and dystopian about a lot of industrial music that like it just felt right for the times, you know?
Oh yeah, no, it's so fucking gritty and dark, like because of the industrial music. I feel like this one is separated from like your other catalog because it's so much. I don't know, like I said, dirtier and like more dystopian, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just really fucking depressed.
Right. uh, so how would you describe your music?
Yeah.
I love hearing people's responses to this because it's usually like really weird bands I'm talking to, and so it's nice to hear like how they
Yeah.
would describe.
I mean, 20 years ago, we printed it on a shirt that we were Mammoth Metallic Noise Rock. Now,
Jesus
honestly,
Christ, that's dope.
I've been editing all the socials to say we're metal slash hardcore influenced noise rock or extreme noise rock.
Okay,
I'm trying to make extreme noise rock a thing.
okay.
Because I think there's like I don't know how much you know about the noise rock subgenre itself.
I'm
There's a
still
lot
pretty
of
new.
there's a lot of weird rules that people seem to arbitrarily place on it, and a lot of the bands that influenced us, I feel, have always been outliers within that weird subgenre, and as a result, we've always been kind of an outlier within that weird subgenre. Um, and I feel like adding in the extreme part does aptly describe it. Because like a band like Today Is the Day, I think it's clearly a noise rock band, but they have a lot of extreme metal going on in that too. And I think that's part of why we've never really been fully embraced by the noise rock community, because we bring in a lot of extreme metal in our influences too. So that's what I'm rolling with now. Extreme noise rock.
Okay, I can get behind it. I can get behind it.
We've got
Uh,
some questions, some
Dead Skunk
statements and
says
questions in here.
Black Magnet got me into industrial. Are you a Black Magnet fan or?
I am a fan. We actually made a point of asking them to play with us on this upcoming tour.
Oh
So
shit,
I'm really stoked about that one. We got them and Chat Pile in Oklahoma City. Like,
dude, Chat
what the
Pile is
fuck?
so dope. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's gonna be sick.
I to the
Gone
Rose
Girl.
says, did y'all ever check out the Gone Girl soundtrack? Trent Reznor worked on it, and it's so rad.
Yeah, I think I have heard some of that, but didn't ever do a deep dive, which I probably should.
I feel like I've seen the movie, but I don't quite remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw the movie too, actually, flying to a Euro tour, I think.
Uh, so you were just talking about some influences. I know you mentioned like Dillinger stuff like that. What are some of the other ones that we might not know?
Like a band like us. Actually, okay, this is a band that only recently started to get a little bit more recognition. That I always knew was an influence on the Dillinger Escape Plan. The Dazzling Killmen, a
They're
band
fucking
from
sick. They're dope.
St. Louis, yeah, from the early 90s. They've always been one of our main influences. Like we're talking pre-Dillinger because they put out the masterpiece Face of Collapse before Dillinger Escape Plan was ever a band or even remotely a band. They put that out before Dead Guy was doing things, I think. It was around the time that actually Today's the Day did Willpower, which I think is their masterpiece also. Just a lot of very unique, extreme music going on in the early 90s. But Today's the Day Willpower is another one that's just part of the DNA of this band.
I never got that
Most of
deep into them. I really need to check more of that shit out. I've heard their newer stuff.
Yeah, the newer stuff never really resounded with me. For me, it's all about the AMREP years and the first two records they did with Relapse. Those ones are the shit. Specifically, like my favorites, Willpower is like a desert island record for me. That one is like
Really?
perfect. So check out Today's the Day, Willpower. And In the Eyes of God, when he had the two guys, Brian and Bill, who went on to form Mastodon after that, that record is just, they put that one out in 99 and it was just the most evil fucking thing I'd ever heard. That one's a really good one too. Um, more influences, bands like Zenigiva, old Japanese kind of noise metal thing. Drive Like Jehu, Jesus Lizard, Unsane, the Melvins, I Worship at the Idol.
What about
Band
any
called
like new bands that you feel like are like giving you some ideas and such?
In terms of these days, I I couldn't really say any specific band, but everything I'm listening to has some form of effect.
Okay.
And I think that I like to think that we haven't gone stale to the point where, like, otherwise people wouldn't want to talk to us, right? We're being one of those bands of, oh, why are they still doing fucking records? This is so boring. I like to think the fact that, like, we continue to listen to new bands and new music is what keeps us sounding relatively fresh. Cause, like, we're just genuine fans of music. And I always get this weird feeling that a lot of bands that have been around stop paying attention to what 20-year-olds are doing. And they
I think
really
that's true.
shouldn't.
Actually, I've talked to a lot of bands where their answer is like, "Oh, I don't really listen to current music. Just listen to all the
Yeah.
other stuff."
And they should,
They
because
should be listening to new stuff. Yeah.
that's what dates you. And a lot of the aesthetic of a lot of the newer extreme music, I think, definitely has an influence on us. But then again, I also feel like there's a bit of a feedback loop with that too, because a lot of the shit that's really rolling around in the underground now is more of a vibe that we've always kind of had. Not saying that we influence things that are going on, because clearly I don't have delusions of grandeur there, but like
I mean, I'm pretty sure you did. So
it
I'll say it.
it feels like now is more like our time. I don't know. I feel like
No, that
everyone
makes
knows this.
sense. Like in the beginning of 2000s or whatever, like this type of music was like awesome. It was like a lot of people were into it, and then it died down, and now it's got this huge resurgence behind it.
Yeah,
So I totally agree with you, man. But past like what 5 years have probably been really good for y'all.
yeah. Well, I mean, and that's a funny thing because we went from a full time touring band to going back to just being like a, I don't want to say a holiday band because we don't treat it like a holiday, but we stopped being full time, and then things we started doing better on tour. Like, what the fuck? So
You want
I
to
mean,
talk about that period for a second? That sounds really interesting. When did y'all like? When would you say you stopped being a full time touring band?
well, like we put our time in from probably like 2010 through 2016. We were on the road all the time, and like the type of music we play, it's never meant to be a full time type of music. Like it's feeling is lower than other styles within extreme music. Um, I don't think there's anyone playing weird, fucked up noise rock that does it as their day job these days. But when we stopped doing that, it was one of those situations where like people are either going to forget about you or the work you put in is going to pay off. And when we put our loved record out, I feel like the industry didn't pay any attention. But when we went on tour, it was the most successful tours we've ever done. So maybe, I mean, and the funny thing is now because of the fucking pandemic, that album had kind of the carpet pulled out from under it because we intended to continue supporting it and that just didn't happen. So it's almost like we're getting like a second wind of that record through this album cycle where we've been noticing the sales of Loved have been like considerably higher than they have been the last couple years just because I guess people are remembering, oh shit, those guys are still doing things. And hey, this new record is pretty cool too. So I'm hoping that that maybe has an effect on the road. I don't know. We'll see. It's also a recession, and we toured through a recession back in 2009 and 10, which was entertaining, but we survived.
Oh yeah, I actually remember the first time I heard about you guys was Success. Was that album? I saw that all over the place. It seemed like it was getting a lot of support, but you guys weren't really touring at that time.
Oh, we were. That was the one that made us quit.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, what happened around that time? Like,
Yeah,
just like
we
got
just
less and less support, or
yeah, we've been going really hard for 5 years and
so burnt out.
burnt out. And I think that record kind of had mixed reviews. A lot of the a lot of people who supported the previous two kind of shit all over it. And I think some fans were a little the fans were either like super into it or really bummed out because it was like a straight up noise rock type record. And I don't think people who liked us for the more extreme side were prepared for that. But I mean, we're with every record, we're just doing what we feel like doing.
Right.
So
And you change, things.
yeah,
Your feelings change and such. It makes
you got itches you want to scratch, and then you scratch them, and then you move on, right?
right. And then you decide to throw in a bunch of industrial music, and it's like one of the better albums you've made. No, it's fucking sick.
I mean, I just all we're trying to do is execute whatever vision we have to the best of our ability, and I feel like we get better at seeing that vision through every time.
Dude, right.
I don't know why. Maybe it's because we're learning new tricks. We always make a point of working with like really good producers too. And that's one of the fortunate things about us living in Canada, as much as it can be a detriment, because I mean, let's be real, a lot of the world doesn't take Canada very seriously. But we do have some pretty great granting programs that if you know how to manipulate the system, you can get a lot out of it. And we've been very fortunate. So we've kind of got to go down like a bucket list of all the people I've ever wanted to work with in the studio. So I really can't complain about that.
Well, let's talk about it. It was recorded and produced by Andrew Schneider and mastered by Carl Saff. I can't say I've ever heard of these people before. So, have they done big things in the past?
Andrew Schneider is more of a niche guy. He's done records by like Unsane and Daughters and Cult of Luna.
Oh, okay.
He's done some Converge work. He's done work with Cave In. He's just a tone monster. Um, so that's why we wanted to work with him. Yeah, he's very good at recording that type of music. And I mean, he's very versatile too, but he's one of those sleeper producers that people don't know his name, but then when you list off the records he's done, like, oh shit, he did that. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that thing sounded huge. And I mean, before that, we worked with Steve Albini on Success, which I mean, who doesn't fucking know who Steve Albini is?
Well, I can't
Um,
say I do. I don't know names of
what,
producers.
dude?
Oh, who's
Steve
he?
Albini, like Nirvana, In Utero, PJ Harvey, the Pixies, Jesus
Okay.
Lizard, like he's like the sound of the '90s. Come on, kid.
How long did it take to record and mix and everything for Noel?
No, this was well, I mean, the whole process was a bit of a clusterfuck because I blew my voice out before we went into the studio, which seems to be a recurring theme the last couple of years. Um, I blame that in part the wildfire situation in Canada last
Okay.
summer. It was like constant fires from basically like the summer through the fall, and I know it fucked up my throat. Like when the atmosphere is just smoky all the time.
Right.
That and I guess probably the actual practice cycles, because like our bassist doesn't live here, and we were rehearsing as mostly a two-piece. So when a bassist comes in, it completely throws off the sound, and I guess I just overworked my voice. So I didn't get to do hardly any of the vocals in the studio. So I had to improvise, and I bought myself a better mic preamp and recorded everything actually in this room.
Oh.
So we tracked the music over, what was it, 14 days, but we recorded 2 albums at the same time. So the music took, 14 days. And then I think,
Wait, so there's another album out there?
it's coming out next year.
God damn, all right.
We made Null and Void. So
I like that. That's
I guess when it's all said and done, it probably took about a month to make all this stuff. Yeah. Yeah, we spent more time mixing this than I think we've mixed anything else. So
that's pretty
I'm
fast. A month for like all the
I'm definitely,
recording and mixing.
yeah. And me doing all the vocals on my own, trying to keep up with the mix schedule, which was a little stressful. But now that I've done it on my own, I never want to go back, because I got to really microanalyze absolutely everything when it comes to vocals, and I think the vocals on this record are the best that we've ever had. So
Right. You also don't
it
have
was,
like the pressure from people watching you or whatever, and
no, and I get to like be hypercritical when normally in the studio it's like, dude, we got to move on. You're gonna burn your voice out, and we don't have any time to do this if you can't do it when we're here. So if I can do this all at home, that saves us all a lot of time. Granted,
Right.
like there's something to be said for tracking vocals with like an actual producer, but like, fuck it, I'm the one who knows how all this is supposed to sound anyway. So they can just find out that they hate it after the fact.
uh Oh, you mentioned fires and shit. Were y'all like anywhere? Were y'all like near them or?
I didn't get too close here, but like it just made it so it's smoky outside all the time. It really sucked. And I know it was happening all across Canada, which fucking great. This is the to be continued with how the future's going to go with that shit, right?
Right, right. Just give it a couple more months. Back in the same.
Right. We got Dead Skunk saying he came around on Success, feels very ambitious in retrospect. Yeah. I mean, especially after we put out Entrench, which I don't know, that one got like super hyped by like weird places that now won't touch us with a 10-foot pole, like Pitchfork and Stereo Gum and NPR. And
Really?
then we put out Success, and they did not like that. So I guess that burnt our bridge there, right? Which is funny because Success starts off with a song that's basically making fun of the fact that the music industry is going to poop us out the other end sometime soon anyway. Self-fulfilling prophecy, I guess.
Jesus Christ, dude. You were on NPR and shit though. That's fucking sick. I saw a thing on Pitchfork. I didn't know you made it on NPR though.
Yeah. We had a lot of cool places covering us for a hot minute, and then we became old news. As is the industry.
Well, you're new news again because you got this sick record, so they'll be calling back. They'll be calling back. It's all good.
Even if they don't, doesn't matter, right?
Right.
Whatever. As long as people come out on tour, I don't know.
So your cover art was made by Randy Ortiz. Ortiz.
Yeah. Ortiz.
Bandcamp says that you guys have worked with him a lot in the past.
Yeah, we've been working with Randy on and off again. God, what was the first? He did flyers for us in Winnipeg in like 2004. Yeah, we've been working with him for a long time. He's been doing T-shirts. He's done the last 3 records proper. He did the vinyl version of our Mennonite 777-inch Weirdo package that came out, and that's back in like 2008. Yeah, Randy's a friend of ours from Winnipeg that is also a decently known graphic, or not graphic, but visual artist in that scene of things. So yeah, it's kind of cool that we've been on the journey that we have with him, because he actually decided he wanted to try doing art full time around the time that we were doing it with music, and our careers have kind of been parallel, although at a certain point we stopped doing it full time and he kept doing it full time.
Well, at least he hasn't big timed you yet. What's the idea behind this cover? We have it up on screen, by the way. But yeah, what's the idea behind it?
We just wanted him to create something that made him feel anything. It's much like with the music and the lyrics, it's all very much like a reaction to our own emotional state during the pandemic. So I can't remember what Randy said about this specific piece, where it's like the eyes are growing over themselves. And I know the themes he was talking about a lot that ended up with both of the records worth of album art had to do with wearing masks and essentially creating this alternate persona for yourself as a way to cope with what's happening to everyone, which ended up tying in pretty well with all the emotional baggage of the actual lyrics and songs themselves. Dead Skunk has a Randy print framed on your wall. What print is it that you have framed? I've got most of my house covered in Randy art.
That's sick. So you just let him do whatever on here, then? You didn't like give him any direction? Aside from like lyrics, I guess.
Yeah, we usually have a few conversations about general ideas, but I do, give him a lot of free reign to kind of just create things. And he gets it. He knows that we have a certain theme ourselves in play, and usually it ends up resonating with him anyway on a personal level. So we just let him interpret that however the hell he feels and see what he comes up with. And if he's not going to present us something that he doesn't think is any good, he wants to be stoked on the work himself too. So it just seems with the records he does with us, they all seem to be very personal for him too. Because I know he does a lot of layouts for what are they called? I know it was a poster company, Mondo, who does a lot of
zines.
They do a lot of reissues of classic movie soundtracks and things like that now, and I know he does a lot of layouts for them. But I do know that those have stipulations on them, and with us, there kind of aren't any. So I do know that he enjoys working with us for that reason. But at the same time, I think he puts extra pressure on himself to create something, particularly with like coming off of the Loved piece, which is one of his more famous pieces, period. Like, I think that one's actually more famous than the album itself, because people post that all over the internet.
It is super iconic. You also did 3 music. Gonna be playing, but they
4.
respect my tactics while we're talking about it. Oh, you did 4? Oh, I must have missed one then.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the 3 I saw were 3 performance vids. What was the other one?
We did a love letter, unresponsive, but they respect my tactics, and throw your phone in the river.
Okay. So all these that I've seen are like performance vids. Why not do like a narrative one or something like that?
Because I think they're boring.
Oh, really? Because I've had people tell me that they think performance vids are boring.
I wonder what draws them to music videos in the first place. I don't know. When I see some of like the old Converge ones, I just think they're the most pointless piece of garbage music videos I've ever seen. Because it's just bad art videos to their music. I think, statistically speaking, the videos in extreme music that seem to have the most impact from a stats perspective, and like people actually clicking through and buying things, are performance style videos. And there's like actual data to back that up. So that's part of why we leaned into it a lot more on this one. That, and I just don't like watching music videos if they don't have the band performing in it. Because, like, why? I'd rather watch a movie. If that's what we're getting into, I'll watch a movie. Because it'll have a story. It'll have a story, it'll have structure. It'll be something done by a professional. And most music videos fucking aren't. They suck.
So, if you got approached by a company and wanted to do like a movie for Kin Mode, what would you say? Would you turn them down, or
if it was a movie? Like, are we talking like a music video?
Like a Pink Floyd The Wall, but it's Kin Mode.
You just kind of silly. But I mean, if it's an actual movie, fuck, why not? But yeah, if we're a soundtrack to a movie, that's a different thing than just a shitty music video.
Okay. Dead Skunk says that he remembers seeing his poster for The Thing. So that Randy did like movie posters for like The Thing and shit like that. That's crazy, dude.
Yeah. He still does. I know Mondo and even just some of his management, like more and more big budget like pictures are going back to making proper movie posters again, which is kind of cool.
No, that's fucking sick.
People like him are starting to get hired for stuff like that. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of work he puts out over the next little while.
So, you were previously signed to Season of Mist. How did that all come together, and what was your experience like with them?
How did that come together? I guess we were pitching to find another label, and they were interested, and we knew it was a step up from where we had been on our previous label, and figured we'd see where it could go. Kind of hoped that they would help us break into the European market a little bit more, because they're a European head office label, and it ended up that their US office helped us the most. So whatever, didn't play out the way we really had wanted it to, but like, it just so happened that when we joined their roster, they hired a man who was responsible for a lot of Relapse Records spreading the way it did in the 90s and early 2000s. And he actually was one of the co-owners of Escape Artist Records, who put out our first two records. So we ended up getting to work with him again, which was kind of an entertaining roundabout story there. Yeah, the experience was good. There was a degree that I feel like their European PR people did not know what to do with us, but that's neither here nor there. We're not your standard black metal band, so I don't know.
Oh yeah, I was just thinking, like, what kind of noise rock comes out of Europe? I mean, I can think of like a couple bands now, maybe, but like, it doesn't seem like it's a big thing over there.
No, not at least not as much as over here. And I know even with what Season of Mist is known for,
Right, they're like definitely black metal.
Yeah, bands like us are not really their cup of tea. But I don't know. We got to be that weird band on that label for a while, and now we've moved on. And it's nothing against them. It's just that we actually started working with Artifact on our regular day jobs. So they asked to throw their hat into consideration for putting out what was next, and we decided to roll with it.
Wait, what's your day job?
My brother and I run a company that provides business services to basically companies in the music industry. We kind of like to focus on full-time touring bands that are bigger than we are, but we also work with some labels and different industry professionals. So, yeah, we started working with Artifact on the professional side, and they were interested in working with us on the artistic side too.
So, like, putting other tours maybe, or like just regular management, or
we work with them with like grant funding and accounting and things like that.
The boring stuff. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's where we make our money. And that's the funny thing. I've always said that we never really landed as a band because we're not fundamentally cool people. We don't schmooze very well. We're known for being fucking nerds, and now we are making all of our money for being nerds because we do all the boring stuff that people don't like nor understand. And we're doing pretty well at it.
Nice. That's what's up. Colonel Dingus says, Jesse, would you say the reason you're so nice is because you're Canadian or because your upbringing? But you were brought up in Canada, so it's like
Yeah, I
both.
mean, maybe a little of both. I don't know if we're that nice. We can be nice. I guess we're polite. Um, and maybe just real. We don't take our shit out on other people. Maybe that's why we're considered nice. I think there's a lot of people in bands today that didn't go to the school of punk rock well enough, where they get these delusions of grandeur. I think I don't know. I've been talking about this too much in interviews. Where anyone who gets an ego playing this type of music, like you can just go get straight fucked. Like
Right,
you're using this to lord over other people. Fuck off.
right.
We're all
Well,
just
a
we're
lot
all
of
just
our
punk kids in the end. We're all just punk kids trying to find other people to hang out with and enjoy cool shit with, right? Why pretend that you're above that?
yeah. I've also been seeing a lot of our conservatism being exported to Canada. So you're
Oh,
starting to
big
get a lot
time.
of the a lot of weirdos coming out in Canada, like the
Yeah, it's
trucker
fucked up.
protests and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it's funny. A lot of Americans don't realize this, but Canadians consume, I think the stat is 85% American media.
Yeah, I
So
believe it.
yeah,
I've
the
seen
dumb,
images of them waving Confederate flags, which I find
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah, yeah, 100%. And when that whole stupid ass trucker protest thing happened, people were quoting like things from the Constitution. It's like, motherfucker, that's not our Constitution. You're not in America. Do you know the country you live in? Fuck.
It's so fucking stupid.
Yeah, the internet is for sure making everyone dumber.
um. Okay, so you're on Artifact now. Let's see here. You have a tour coming up, right?
We do. We just did 4 dates with Val Creature and Marriage of Thrace, and we're doing just over 3 weeks with Frail Body coming up. Starting, we leave on Wednesday.
Nice. That's gonna be awesome, man. I got to catch Frail Body back at Mathcore Index Fest earlier this year. Fucking crazy.
Sick.
They're so good.
Yeah, I'm very stoked that they wanted to do this with us. We were looking for someone of around that profile to come out, and it's hard to get anyone to want to go out on tour these days.
Oh yeah, dude. I think I do. There are people that would jump to tour with you. Like I guess not on. They're not on the same level as Frail Body, but
Yeah, that's a tricky thing because like we're one of those bands that's stuck in a really awkward position because like you know how there's like the classic like 3 band package tour type thing. We're too big to be the first of 3, but we're not big enough to be the second of 3. So
okay.
so we're kind of stuck in that shitty spot where no one wants to go out with us. So we have to go out and do our own things. And I don't feel like we're big enough to bring out a band that's like kind of just emerging into that scene, like where they're known more on an international level. But at the same time, like, yeah, it's hard to find someone who's like on the rise to meet us. So we're trying to find like something in that weird middle ground, and there's so few bands in that pocket. And then you got to find ones that actually like this shit that we do. So we kind of lucked out that the Frail Body guys actually like us. So that was cool. I think we'll have some fun over the next couple weeks.
Where are y'all planning on going?
Oh, have you seen the itinerary? We're like covering
I
like
know you're
the
coming down to Denton and shit. That's gonna be kind of sick.
yeah. It's like the eastern 2/3 of the states. Basically, we're covering all that over 3 weeks. There's going to be a lot of driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting down to Texas for the first time in like 7 years. Whew. Yeah, I'm gonna eat me some barbecue.
Yeah. What's the date you're most hyped about?
Oh man, we've got a few tent posts. Chicago is going to be really cool because we're playing with Juna and Stress Positions. Uh, Nashville, we're playing with Third Face and Bled to Submission, which is going to be super sick. Oklahoma City with Chat Pile and Black Magnet. Um, Austin, we're doing with Glassing and Black Ops. And then No Coast Fest in Denton's going to be fucking killer with Chat Pile again. The next night we're doing Halloween with Capra in New Orleans, which will be a lot of fun.
Oh, that's
Um, I know I'm really looking forward to like the Philly, New York, Boston tripod on that weekend because we're playing the Drowned God in Philly, Averturn in Brooklyn, and Sexless Marriage in Boston. Yeah, like we made a point of kind of drilling down and trying to get regional bands that we're like stoked to see in each city that we're playing. So we've almost turned this into just like a merch shopping spree for ourselves. So like even if the shows suck, we're gonna be really stoked just to see all the bands that are playing. So that's I think that was kind of like a backup fail safe on this whole thing. Like even if it totally eats shit, we're gonna enjoy watching music for the first time in a long time.
oh yeah, and I think you're gonna do really well. I think you might be.
Hopefully we can only, yeah. I mean, it's poison to get too much expectation, except for Detroit. Haha. What about Detroit? You think we're gonna eat shit in Detroit? Oh man, we haven't played Detroit in 7 years. Also, fuck.
Well, no, I think y'all are a big fucking band right now. Like, what was it? You got well over 20K streams day that the null release. So, like, you're way
Is
underselling
that
yourselves.
is that big? I don't
No,
know,
that's really
man.
good. That's really good.
I mean, I put it. My problem is I put everything in the context of other bands that we work with, and we ain't shit.
I guess. I don't know, man. Yeah, y'all are at least like on the way to like making a bigger name.
I can only hope. We just want to keep working it, and I mean, we'll pay it forward. We're just in this to play cool music, meet cool people, and give us a reason to not kill ourselves.
I hope you have enough reason to not do that. Um, so you played a bunch of shows, obviously. What's the best show you played?
Hey, I'm getting called out on not getting regional acts in Detroit. We did have a lineup set up there, and they had to bail at the last minute. So we had some cool shit in Detroit. Um, I totally ignored your question there.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Speaking of Detroit, real quick, awesome band from there, Possession, 1981. You should talk to them. They're fucking sick. But my question was, what's the best show you played?
Best show we played. Fuck. There are so many different qualifiers for something like that. Um, I know one that I can bring up, which sounds like a cliche because I hate it when people do oh, we played this in such and such festival. But Temples Fest in Bristol, UK in 2015. It was the last time they ever did the fest because the promoter ended up ripping off a bunch of people. And I know Sun blew the PA,
Holy shit.
which fucked
That's
up a lot of
fucking
stuff.
crazy.
But we ended up getting stiffed for half of our guarantee on that. But the show
Damn.
itself was so crazy. And it was right before Success came out. And we sold out of like all of our merch at the thing after we played. And we kind of had to panic because we were still on tour. And it's like, we don't have anything to sell for the rest of this thing. We're fucked. But that's probably, I can maybe confidently say that's the best show. Maybe. I don't know.
Dude, that's
We
fucking
probably played
sick.
cooler. It was a cool show though.
Did you
And
get
I mean,
merch in time for the rest of the tour?
uh, ish. I don't even remember. I think we got a few more LPs, but I don't think it really floated us for the rest of it. But it was a short one anyway, and the fest was like most of it, so it worked out.
Okay, okay. Dude, sun blowing out the PA must have been like fucking crazy. Holy
I wish I would have been there for that. That's the problem with being on tour when you play festivals is we end up missing all the cool shit.
Oh, that fucking sucks.
Story of my life. And it'll be just like the No Coast that's happening at the end of this month. Like we're missing the entire fest. We're showing up on Sunday to play the last date, but like it's a really cool fest and we don't get to see any of it because we're on tour.
Right.
Oh well. Oh
So,
well.
what's the worst show you've ever played?
I'll it certainly wouldn't have been our worst, but I have to mention it because it was the first time in my life that I questioned even doing music anymore.
Uh-oh.
Long Island, Amityville, New York, on tour with Norma Jean and Vanna, a hardcore package that the fans fucking hated us on. And we'd been on tour all year, like consistently.
What year is this again?
2013.
2013. Okay.
And it was the first time in my life when I was on stage and went, what the fuck am I even doing up here? I felt like I was playing air band. Nobody there gave a shit. And I just felt like I was wasting my life. And that is a horrible sense to have while you're playing a set.
Right. God damn, dude. Well, I mean, kind of makes sense. It's like the fall of like all this weird music and shit, you know, the tail end of everything before it rose up again. But fuck, that sucks.
Yeah, and just that tour in general was a weird one for us because we
didn't really belong on that bill either.
No, and I know we were there because the Norma Jean guys really liked us, and like at that point we were willing to do anything because we just wanted to be on the road, and we figured like if we can win over a couple people, it's worthwhile. But I hadn't really played to crowds that were kind of more. I don't even want to necessarily call it the hardcore scene, but there were definitely like hardcore kids at that stuff,
right?
And we'd kind of cut our teeth playing hardcore shows in Winnipeg, like back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and hardcore kids have always absolutely hated what we do. And
really, that's funny. I guess no breakdowns, I guess, is the thing.
No, or at least not enough, or not the way they want them. But yeah, we got treated like that. It felt like 2001 again for me playing on that tour, where kids were like spitting at us or just straight up mocking us while we were playing, which like we're not the kind of band that you should do that to.
Why is that?
He's a hardcore kid and he loves you guys. Well, I know there's a whole new world of hardcore kid. It's just, yeah, it was fucking weird, man. Like, because the scene we're from, like Winnipeg, birthed like bands like Figure Four and Comeback Kid, who are actually friends with those guys, but their fans fucking hated us here.
That's crazy. Yeah, I feel like the scene's more like accepting nowadays. You know, I remember like way back in the day, like it was like the hardcore kids versus like the metal kids and stuff like that. But
yeah, now I feel like
that's really a thing.
They're basically indistinguishable. We're like, I always find it funny because like Nails kind of blew up as like this big nasty hardcore band, and like my brother always gets them confused with Nazem because like they like rip off Nazem, and like Nazem was. I know back when we were playing shows to hardcore fans, they called us all grind fags. So that was early 2000s hardcore.
Jesus Christ. Well, yeah, but now you see bands like Chat Pile and stuff coming up. So like, I feel like the scene's a lot more, friendly to sounds like y'all's.
Hopefully. I mean, who knows? I kind of feel like the movement that was hipster metal changed the way scenes are treated in general, at least in North America, and for the much, much better, because it normalized people listening to all different walks of heavy music.
Right.
And like we play weird bastardized noise rock type shit, but like I grew up listening to all the classic hardcore shit. And that's why I always kind of felt betrayed when people from that scene like took a giant shit on us. It's like, dude, I'm fucking one of you. What's going on here?
Right.
I'm more true than a lot of the people making fun of me because I listen to all the classic shit. I own all that shit. That's part of my roots. Like, fuck you.
Right.
Anyway.
No, yeah, it's like all the kids from 2000s grew up now and realize that they're not, not to be so close-minded, I guess. Kind of like what it feels like is happening.
Yeah, it is funny having people from back in the day now telling me how much they like my band and wish they would have appreciated it back in the day when they were part of the scene.
Yeah,
but then again, we were like 18-year-olds playing music that dudes like that were like 35 to 40 liked, which in itself was also really funny. Our first US tour, I distinctly remember bumming people out when they met us because they thought we were older than we were.
Really?
It was like 40-year-old dudes learning that Shane was 17 going like, oh man. And now we're the old dudes in the scene. What the fuck?
Yeah, Colonel Dingus says he's a hardcore kid who plays in a sludge band now.
That's the shit. I mean, It's funny because like back in the day, people call us a sludge band sometimes now. I don't know. Genres are weird.
Oh yeah, they are. Like in anything really too much. But no, I've seen the sludge moniker being thrown around for you guys as well. I guess I get it, kind of. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean some songs for sure. I never. I mean the Melvins are kind of considered like a legendary sludge band now, and they were never considered sludge when I got into them. So I don't know. He's gonna let the cat out of the bag.
Don't do
What
it,
cat?
Colonel.
What's going on, Colonel?
So you got shirts, vinyl, CDs, and hoodies over at kin-mode.com. You got some stuff with you. Let's see it.
I got that big Null LP. I got that Null CD.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. Those are the only things we got on sale right now at kenmode.com because I had to pull all of our stock because we're taking it all on tour with us.
Okay. I assume you're putting on extras and stuff whenever you get back from it, though, right?
Yeah. I'll be making announcements. I'm the annoying guy who messages you. Sick. Okay. So that's why you were shit talking all the Detroit bands.
For those of you not watching, Colonel Dingus says I'm the annoying guy who messages you all the time on IG, and I'm playing with you in Detroit. So let's close this out with your current album of the year.
My current album of the year is probably the latest Blind Girls.
I've never heard of it before. I was kind of expecting you to say Chat Pile, because that's a lot of people's answers.
Nah, dog. Blind Girls. Okay, I'll give you the actual. The Weight of Everything. They are kind of a weird, noisy screamo type band, and by screamo, I still call it the old term. Apparently, everyone calls it scrams now because screamo became like whatever mallcore bullshit. But like because I'm
oh no, yeah, every normie hears someone scream and they call it screamo. So yeah. It's lost all its meaning.
so for me, I still call that type of band screamo. What screamo was in the 90s,
right?
But Blind Girls is kind of like that. So it's a derivative of hardcore. It's frantic. It's fucked up. They're from Australia. I think this record's phenomenal. I'm very stoked to see what happens with them in the future. I know they played some shows in Canada because they played, what was that, No Friends Fest or something like that?
God damn, the trip from Australia to Canada would be insane.
Yeah.
Like them not being a big band's crazy. Okay. Huh.
And they only played a few shows in Canada, and it wasn't in our part of Canada, so fuck us. But yeah, wild that they took the trip for a festival in Toronto and then did a few regional dates and then flew home. But yeah, that record is really, really sick. I hope you dig it. Yeah, that's my front runner right now for album of the year.
All right, I need to look into that. Is there anything else you want to say before we head on out?
I just want people to come out and hang out with us on tour. That's all.
Hell yeah.
If anyone's watching or watches this after the fact, come hang out on tour. That's the whole point of why we're still doing this goddamn thing. That and pick up records, pick up physical media. It's the shit. And I will see Colonel Dingus in Detroit.
So if you're looking for some of the most dark and dirty stuff you'll hear all year, you got to check out Null, the new album from Kin Mode, which dropped back in May through Artifact Records. You're on Facebook, Bandcamp, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and all streaming platforms. Any other websites? I guess you have kin-mode.com. Any other like places you're trying to direct people?
Oh man, what did I have a TikTok too.
You have a TikTok, okay.
Don't use it very well, but it's just, what is it, Ken Mode Official? Yeah, Ken Mode Official at TikTok, which is also the same as our Twitter. As we discussed, after our Twitter got deleted by Twitter for being an underage kid when we created it in 2007. Yeah, all the usual shit. It's all linked. If you go to ken-mode.com, you can find it all anyway.
Alrighty. As for me, drop my channel follow so you always know when I go live. You can also sub to get access to the interviews before they hit YouTube and other streaming platforms, as well as get some exclusive emotes. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. YouTube folks, if you enjoyed the video, please drop a like, tickle the notification bell. Don't forget to subscribe. It's a great way to support me for free. Check out my music, The Sound That Ends Creation, at thesoundthatendscreation.com. Again, we got pre-order going on now. Windbreakers, joggers, vinyl, shirts. It's all there. My next guest is Corey of Zombie Shark. Join us this Wednesday, the 19th at 7 p.m. Central for the live interview on Twitch. Thanks for being here. Hope you had a good time.
Thanks a lot for having me, man. Hopefully I'll cross paths with you sometime soon.
Dude, hopefully. And thank you guys for watching and listening.